Hello and welcome to this week's edition of TCS News. I'm Madison.
And I'm Kevin. In this edition, we will be reporting on the effects the batteries of electric vehicles have on the environment, a parade that one of our students participated in, and a banquet the entire school attended. In Thacker Pass, environmental and tribal activist groups have been protesting for 8 months at a location where a massive lithium mine is planned to be built. Tribes, ranchers, residents, and activists all claim that the mine will do more harm to the environment than the contribution the lithium harvested will have towards the shift to clean energy. Those that support the mine state that the potential both to prevent climate change and boost the economy will justify the burden on locals and the environmental consequences. At the same time, most mainstream environmental organizations take an approach somewhere in between. While they agree that the mine will have a significant negative impact on the environment, they also say that it is a necessary evil to wean the earth off of using fossil fuels that contribute to climate change. Lithium is an element that is essential for lithium-ion batteries, and these batteries are the ones that are most likely to be used in EVs. At the same time, however, there are estimates that by 2030, more than 12 million tons of lithium-ion batteries will be retired and no longer usable. These batteries, if a way to easily recycle them isn't found, will likely be thrown into a landfill. Thacker Pass is simply a warning of things to come and an example of similar conflicts around the world. The connecting factor in all of them being how minerals and materials for renewable energy affect the surrounding environment, and it's only just started. For example, in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, the extraction of cobalt, another mineral used in batteries, has led to human rights violations and the usage of child labor. Just because these batteries are useful to get energy in a way that doesn't use fossil fuels doesn't mean you should disregard things like human rights or the surrounding environment. We may be trying to prevent Earth from baking itself, but that doesn't mean we should put craters on it bigger than the ones we can see on the moon.
These batteries require raw materials such as lithium, nickel, and cobalt. When the battery starts to get to the end of its life, it leaves a huge electronic waste behind. Palawan is a tropical island in the Philippines and is known as one of the most beautiful places in the world. Decades ago, large amounts of its forest was destroyed by a large nickel mining company, Rio Truba. They want to expand more of their operation, which would expand it to 4,700 football fields. Nickel is in so many things, such as phones, tablets, and one of the largest demands for nickel is for electric car batteries. After deforestation happens, it is hard to restore it to its natural state again. Experts say that it would be incredibly difficult to bring back the forest that has been lost, especially because of the mining that has gone on in the area where the deforestation has happened. People who live in Palawan say that they are weary of the expansion for mining. Local farmers are afraid that it might cause landslides in the winter and that it might contaminate waters. In the Arctic surrounding Norska, Russia, nickel production has caused rivers to turn red and has killed vast forests and has worsened the sulfur dioxide pollution. Now let's see what happened this week. Thank you so much, Miss Kathleen, Miss Kim, Miss Dawn, and Mr. Dan for the great financial literacy class this Thursday. It was great getting in perspective of how fast money actually gets spent, and it was so fun getting to see what our yearly salary would be for our dream job and seeing how we could live with the money we would make. We used a budget sheet where we had to pick homes, streaming services, transportation, and so many more things you need to think about when becoming an adult and budgeting.
On Thursday, we had a special government class. Miss Mary Louise explained to us how laws are recorded in the law books of the government. She went into detail about the chapters, subsections, and even further into how they make the law and its contents as specific as possible. She remarked on how the wording used in a law can determine how the law is executed, and even showed us how new laws are added into the books in between new editions of them. I really enjoyed the lesson, and I found the way that the book was laid out a bit confusing because it used some weird symbols, but interesting nonetheless. Thank you for teaching us about it, Miss Mary Louise.
This Monday we have Mr. Greg back for a part 2 in our climate change class. It was such a great class. We all got to ask so many questions and I feel very informed. We talked about Baltimore's biggest incinerator, Briscoe, and how it is polluting our air. We all brainstormed some good ways about spreading the word about the effects of the incinerator and how we can help by composting. What do you think about the climate change class, Kevin?
I really enjoyed the climate change class. Mr. Greg took the time to answer our questions fully, and he was expressive as he did so. He seemed excited about the conversation and the questions we had, and that made me want to join in more because I had a few questions myself, and it looked like he'd give me the answer I was looking for. On Tuesday, we had an ASL class, and this time Miss Peg was in person. Last week, she was out sick, but thankfully she was recovered. She spent the first few minutes explaining how things would go from here, from how we'll be graded to how she'll turn off her voice in the future and only communicate through sign language, and how by the end of it, we'll be able to tell stories in ASL. After that, we spent the class learning vocabulary and coming up with sentences using them. Thank you for coming in, Miss Peg. The class was wonderful as always.
This Sunday was the mayor's Christmas parade. It was so great because there were so many different groups like marching bands, dance groups, cars, floats, and big balloons. It was even better because I got to see one of my classmates, Ileana. She was in the parade with her dance group, Danza Aglia. They looked so pretty and they danced so well. Ileana and her group do Mexican traditional folk dance.
On Tuesday evening, we went to the Associated Italian American Charities Banquet. The class was invited by Tom and Jackie Iacoboni and even got to meet them. Mr. Tom's brother works as the secretary at AIAC, and we were introduced to him as well. At the banquet, after everyone had eaten, scholarships were given to students going into college by various members of AIAC. After the students, donations were given to various organizations and charities chosen by the members. Two organizations that stood out to me were an organization focused on preventing the sexual abuse of children and another centered around helping veterans integrate back into civilian society after serving, especially after they've been wounded. One of the organizations donated to was the community school by Mr. and Mrs. Iacoboni. The entire school went on stage to accept it, and Donald gave the thank you speech. One part of the speech explained how he was previously a student at TCS, and now he's a member of the staff so he can give back to the school. He thanked the members of AIAC for supporting the community school the way they can, while he supports it in his own way. I'd like to personally thank the people at the Associated Italian American Charities for continuing to work with the community school and inviting us to the banquet this year. Last but certainly not least, we'd like to thank all those who provided lunches this week.
We would like to thank Miss Dawn and Kim for bringing us the amazing lasagna, salad, and brownies this Thursday. It was so wonderful having you two, and I really hope to learn more about the both of you in the future. The brownies were my personal favorite in my opinion, but thank you again for providing a lunch.
Thank you, Miss Janae, for bringing in the tacos and rice on Friday. You always take the time to personalize each person's plate, and your cooking always comes out absolutely delicious. And like every other time you've made this dish, your rice was perfect with the tacos. Thank you for coming in, and see you soon.
Thank you so much, Miss Carol, for the amazing meatball subs and the great salad. Thank you so much for all of the lunches you provide for the school. We really appreciate all of your hard work and dedication that you put into every meal you bring. We are also grateful for you and love seeing you when you come in.
Last but not least, thank you, Miss Peg, for the delicious beef barbecue, green beans, fruit, and cookies. The balance of the beef, string beans, and the fruit was a feast for both the eyes and taste buds, and the fruit was a sweet finish to the entire meal. Again, thank you for the meal, and see you next time, Miss Peg. And that's it for this edition of TCS News. See you next week, and I hope you all have a wonderful weekend.